Now we begin with section C on performance management. In this section, we're not going to go through any of the computations, examples, and such stuff like that, because performance management of a project is entirely in the hands of a project manager ideally. But based on this understanding of the various financial statements, the return on investment computations, capex versus opex, cash flow, you are sufficiently equipped to use those tools to enhance your project, to measure the performance of your project, and also take the corrective steps to increase its performance. I'm going to share a few tips with you on how you can and you should do recommended to do those steps to keep a track of your project's performance over a period of time, also taking necessary actions in as and how the project progresses. But that list is not exhaustive. It's just a few steps on how you can manage or you can enhance the performance of your project. So let us begin with this concept of performance management. Now, it's recommended to conduct the following activities on a recurring basis for effective performance management of the project. Okay, it is recommended you conduct these activities at least if for your project on a month by month, at least recurring on a month by month, preferable to do a weekly, but that will be too chaotic. So the ideal timeline will be a month on month performance based evaluation, right? Analyze the detailed P&L statement on a monthly basis. Now that you're aware of how to study the P&L statement on a detailed basis, request your finance department every month on month basis to send the P&L statement for related to your project, where you can understand what are the revenue, how is the revenue trend going on, is it increasing, is it decreasing, is it stagnant, is the cost of expenses or the cost of revenue becoming high, that is the cost of undertaking the activities to generate the revenue, is it increasing, is it decreasing, is it stagnant, and stuff like that, based on which you'll also be able to pinpoint if the additional, or you can say the expenses which are not relevant to your project, are they increasing in volume, or are they reducing, or are they same across from the beginning of the project. And if the other expenses which are not relevant to your project, if they are increasing over the time, that's a red flag. You can point out to your managers, to your leaders, and say that this might impact your conclusion about my existing project, because the common expenses being allocated are increasing on my project day on day basis, right? So that is why it's important for you to analyze the detailed P&L statement and take corrective actions with regard to whatever red flags comes in. Can be increase in cost, drop in revenues, increase in other expenses being allocated, and stuff like that. Keep a track of the ROI for your projects. Now, if you are a manager who has multiple projects going on, it's very important for you to keep a track of your return on investment on every project. That's simple enough. What costs are being incurred, expected to be incurred? What is the profit they expected to be increased, expected to be receivable from the incurrence of those expenses, and computing the ROI, return on investment, for every individual projects. Now, we had studied this entire concept of computation of ROI in the Excel sheet, if I hope you remember that. And we had understood how a small change in the cost can drastically change the decision of the whether to drop the project, continue the project, whether it can change the entire preferential order for the project. That's why it's important for you to have a clear understanding of your various projects ROI. So supposedly in the future, if the management tells you, hey, you got 5 projects in hand, you can only afford to finance 3 of the projects, you choose which 2 to drop and which 3 to continue. You should have a clear understanding of your functionalities, at which projects are performing up to the optimal level, not just in terms of dollar value. That will be highly misleading, and the ROI computation comes really handy at those point of time. Next is comparatively study the P&L and ROI of your projects to keep a track of how your project is performing. Not only just the dollar value or the net profit computation is essential, that's just a piece of the puzzle. You also need to supplement it with the ROI computation, because absolute dollar profits can be misleading sometimes, but ROI accompanied with the absolute dollar values gives you 100% correct result for most of the time. Okay, if you have an increasing profit but your return on investment is decreasing, that means the cost which you are incurring to increase the profit is much more high than the increase in the profit itself, which is offsetting, which is why the return on investment is going down for that particular project. If the dollar value of the project, if the net profit of the project are increasing along with the increase in return on investment, that's a super project to carry on. And those are the analysis which you can only derive when you have a thorough understanding of the P&L and an ROI, and you're tracking both of them simultaneously, starting both of them simultaneously for every of your existing projects. Understand the requirement of the capital asset and plan for its leasing accordingly. Now, Based on the previous lecture itself, previous session, where we understood the entire capex versus opex scenario, buying versus leasing. If your project requires a substantial amount to be invested in a fixed asset, and you need to determine what period of time you want that asset to complete your project, and based on that, you make up the analysis. Is it better to buy the asset with the resources, or is it better to lease the asset? And accordingly, time is the biggest factor over there. As you had seen, if you recall previously, when we had computed the 1 year calculations, in that point of time, we thought it's better to lease the asset. When we extended the computation to 3 years, our decision went in the favor of buying the asset. So that's all tricky parts which are taken care by the you need to take care as a project manager to enhance the efficiency of your project, to make smart effective decisions. And lastly, keep a track of the expenses and eliminate the unnecessary expenses. This is important not only for the projects, for your personal life also, but we'll stick to the project management aspect because this is not a financial literacy course. So keeping a track of every expense which are incurred for your project and removing the unnecessary expenses which don't really need, which whose presence are more taking the project down rather than providing any additional values. And again, I'll re-emphasize the fact that even small changes in the cost can cause a drastic change in your return on investment. If you have any doubt, see the entire slide on our ROI computation, how we worked on the Excel with the different numbers, with the different permutation combination. And just by changing a $20,000 of a cost in a project of $500,000, the project preferential order changed from number 3 to number 1. The percentage return on investment changed from 25 to 32, I believe so. That's right. These are the these are some of the strategic key points which you need to follow irrespective of the fact whether you're doing a financial project, non-financial project, any project. And it's important to understand these aspects of the project management, these aspects of the related to the financial components of project management. It makes you, these are the tools which will give you to manage a project to the greatest efficiency, as well as defend it when the times are high, when the times are going against you, when you are in a negative situation in front of a manager, right? So I hope you had a thorough understanding of the performance management tools, and now you're good to go in the financial world out on your own to show your project being managed very well. Well, I hope you got the point. That's it. Okay. I'll see you in the next session where we start with the project evaluation techniques.